What we're going to do here is get very pragmatic, very technical, and exactly what me and Scott have done to close tens of millions of dollars at a very deep level. Everything we share today is going to be things that we're giving to our clients for 15, 20, 30, $50,000. I feel a little silly that we are giving some of this stuff away, but when you're a beautiful location like this, you absolutely have to. So if you don't know me, my name is Temple Naylor. I've been in high ticket sales for almost a decade. I've sold everything from 7K fitness coaching to 80K B2B masterminds. I'll let the man introduce himself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure to fucking be set next to the man himself. Finally got to meet in person. Dude gave an amazing speech in Marbella. And basically, we're just going to go deep in the weeds. I'll give a quick intro on me. I don't like to do too much of the credibility dump, but ran Iman's sales team for about 2 years or so, launched this 18K product, scaled Ashton Hall's offer, William Brown, bunch of other big names, Brad Go, etc. And ultimately ran a lot of teams since, closed up. Actually, the biggest deal I closed was 265K. It was like an investment offer and things. So I've seen everything, right? The 1K deals up to 265K. So we're going to get like super, super tactical, whether you're a setter, closer, or sales manager. We'll kind of tap on things that are going to be very beneficial to every single part of the sales ecosystem. I know that we promised there'd be no mindset stuff, but we're going to do one thing on it. And the only reason, to be honest, is because there was a guy at the Marbella A Players event that had asked about, like, you know, what are the limiting beliefs that you need to overcome? So I think it's very important for us to kind of set the stage of like what we personally believe around what it takes to truly succeed in sales before we just get like hyper granular with everything tactical on here. So I kind of let you go on there, right? Because you were on stage when this question was asked. It's just like, hey, what are the limiting beliefs that you either need to overcome or are going to overcome to get to like the next level? And I think we have a very similar opinion on the reality of like limiting beliefs.
Yeah, we absolutely do. You know, the thing with the limiting beliefs is that question itself, in my opinion, is a trap. At the end of the day, beliefs are shaped by your identity is shaped by your actions. So I think a lot of people really mental masturbate, so to say, on like what I got to do mentally to overcome or hit the next level, when all you really got to do is, I mean, as silly as or dumb as it sounds, you just got to retard max. You got to go through it. And I say this with conviction because I grew up in a very small town. My graduating class was like less than 12, 16 people, something like that. And throughout that, there was no opportunity. I mean, the nearest city was 5 hours away and it was San Francisco. So there was nothing to do, and I dropped out of high school on top of it. Most people in my town and my school, they ended up doing construction or logging or working at the gas station even. And so there was no belief building, or excuse me, there was like no mindset tactics that was being applied there. But when I looked there and I had seen everyone that had this mindset of they didn't think they could go out and do this, or they didn't think they could go out and become something. The question I just really asked myself is, if someone's going to go out and do this, if someone's going to go out, break out of this town and make it, and I say that very quotably because there's people obviously way past me, but I'm doing decently all right for myself. I just always ask myself, why not me? Why can't that be me? And the only thing that actually propelled me as far as I did was not working on my mindset or my limiting beliefs. It was just taking relentless action. So the first thing I ever did is actually taught myself how to computer program in a trailer. And that was something I'll get into later and how that works really well in sales, by the way. But I worked through that. And then what I did is I now needed a job. And I was a high school dropout. I had no money to my name. And I was living in a trailer. So I had to cold call companies across America and convince them to fly this 18-year-old kid out, pay for my rent, give me a high-paying job, pay for my flights, like my food, my accommodation, everything. And it took about a year, and I eventually convinced the company to do that. And I think that really broke that conviction for me, and it really cemented it, where there is no such thing as mindset or limiting beliefs that hold you back. It's just relentless action taking. And through that action taking, you're gonna fail, and they're gonna learn, and they're gonna apply, and they're gonna do better, and then you're eventually gonna get the result. And it's really that simple.
Dude, so like, I have a belief that, and it definitely changed, right? And I realized that like, it was purely, for me, it's like, this is just a social construct. It doesn't exist. The only reason that we feel like it's something we have to overcome is because everyone's telling you it's what you need to overcome. It's all fucking marketing, right? Like, the sales space is filled with a bunch of people selling to a bunch of weak individuals on how you, like, you know, if you fix your mindset, you're gonna make 100K a month. Like, it's literally just, you have a skill deficiency. Put some fucking time into building the skill, doing repetitions of it and playing the long game. It's like, honestly, as simple as that. Because like, I'm now looking at like the stage of like, I've kind of been, let's say, a glorified, like high paid freelancer in a way, right? Like just managing multiple sales teams. So now it's kind of like, how can I step into more of like a CEO, let's say, identity? But I'm not like, I've got a limiting belief about how I can't be a CEO. It's just like, no, like I just have more skills to develop. I need to become a better leader. I need to be able to delegate more. I need to be able to hire better. I need to pour more time into building my own company. And it's like, if you look at like the greats, I think the only reason we think of this way is because of the circle that we're in. You're like ingrained in the high ticket sales space, which is filled with a bunch of fucking idiots half the time, to be honest.
A lot of personal development that exceeds into that.
Exactly. As opposed to like looking at the, you know, whether you like them or not, like the Jeff Bezoses and like Dyson and like all of these people that have done amazing things across a very long period of time. And it's like, I don't think they were dealing with limiting beliefs. Like it was just massive levels of iteration over and over again and just learning and developing and becoming a better person.
Yes.
It's just, it kind of drives me crazy. Even in my community, like I'm getting that question regularly, mainly like on people that are new to sales. And like, I'm not pissed at you guys because it's not your fault, but like, it's just a fundamentally warped belief that it's been installed into you. Like it's not your own original thought. You just have been told to think that way.
I fully agree. And you know, the reason I love that I started off with computer programming before I ever got into sales, which is such a weird transition. But at the end of the day, there's no mindset training in computer programming. You learn a skill and then you apply it. The code breaks, you figure out why it broke, and then you learn the skill that you need to fix it, and then you go and fix it.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with sales, business, entrepreneurship, anything else out there. And I've coached and developed a lot of the biggest mindset teams in the space, and obviously I won't say any names because I'm gonna do a bit of a call out here, but I can let you know, majority of people that went into those programs, they actually left more fucked up mentally, in my opinion, because they were questioning everything they were doing versus just taking that action and going for it.
That's fucking deep. Yeah, 100%. And it's just the whole case of like, that's why I stopped aligning with a lot of things that I've been a part of in the past. It's just like, we actually enjoy the suffering because we find that there's like this weird, endless quest to try and understand the suffering.
Yes.
It's like, who fucking cares? Like, you're gonna thrive so much more. Like, we keep using the term retard maxing, but it is true. It's just like, just be relentless, just be a little bit stupid with it, just have like an unwavering belief of like, fuck it, fuck around, find out, I'll make it at somehow, some way. Like, I knew nothing about sales as a restaurant manager for like 7 years, and now like I'm like a good sales. It was like, I wasn't born that way. I didn't like do anything special. I just put in time.
Dude, I couldn't even go to the street and ask somebody for the time without like sweating profusely.
Yeah.
I was the worst person at communication. So you just learn it and apply it. So we say that and open this up with, because when we go through this this video here, we're gonna really get very tactical and very technical, because we don't want to take anything really high level or approach it from that perspective. We're just gonna tell you exactly what we're doing on the inside, exactly what we're telling our teams when it comes to approaching objections, improving your close rate, building teams. I mean, we'll get into the whole 9 yards, but we'll just open up with that. Fuck the mindset, let's get technical.
By the way, I've built out a fire objection handling document and process that I install into my teams, which absolutely cranks. If you want it, comment big balls and I'll send it over to you personally.
So probably to start with the elephant in the room, with us being in such a beautiful location and life maxing, if you want to put that as cringy as it is. And one of the questions we got yesterday that made me even think of this through this environment was, how do you balance sales and travel and life and personal, just work-life balance? And there's definitely probably stages to it. I know Scott has some opinions on this based off if you're a setter, a closer, a manager. My belief is, if you're a closer, you should be going for the first 2 years, ideally, to a new location every 3 months. And the reason I say this is because at the end of the day, I mean, I'll just call a spade a spade. Sales is very boring. It's very monotonous. You're doing the same thing every single day, almost every single call. And what I find is, at first, like that excitement of learning sales, like really propels you and you do well. Eventually, you kind of hit a burnout rut where you feel that you're just in this groove that's repetitive. And so what I did, and you know, I kind of like got the nickname 007 Closer. People make fun of me for it, but it's because I was traveling nonstop. I lived in 18 countries during my closing career. And the reason I did that is, when you're traveling, you're going to a new place every 3 months, you really change, or excuse me, I should say it this way. When you're traveling every 3 months, what happens is your brain is in the survival mode. So you're constantly having to learn the new languages, figure out where you're gonna live, where's the gym, where's the food, where are the people you're gonna meet, what are you gonna do there, how are you gonna set up your office? And you have to adjust that culture constantly. And being in that mode keeps your brain active and on. And what I found is that directly applies to sales. So now when you're in the sales call, your brain's already switched on, you're already hyper aware of the situation than you would be if you're just in your AC unit doing the same call same day. And that was a huge thing that I did for a long time, and it really propelled me. And another thing it gave me is just gratitude. I think we can get very accustomed to a lifestyle very quickly.
100%.
And the dopamine sets in, and just like, dude, I just got this new watch. And I was laughing with my friend the other day because I put it on. I was like, okay, cool, thanks. And the watch guy was like, I've never seen someone not excited for this. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I've gotten a couple before. It's just like, it's cool, I appreciate it, but it's just another watch. And the reason I love the traveling is it constantly just gives you this new appreciation when you're in a new environment, and it helps me to apply that gratitude to calls. So I think gratitude is the highest frequency you can be at to immediately like have the most positive impact.
I agree so much. I think like you can tell and feel when someone is got some degree of life experience on the other side of the phone as well. You know what I mean? Like, so I think like Daniel, that we both know, like obviously he's on one of my teams and then he's doing coaching with you. 17, but he's so well traveled for his age, very like confident as a result of it, right? And a lot of it came from sales, but I think it was sales combined with the fact that he's been living life as well. And he is, 17, making 25K on an offer in a month, whilst traveling to Thailand with me, whilst like in Marbella right now. Like he's doing that perfect balance, and it's very like harmonious, right? He's found like the way to do that. But you're 100% right. And I think like the way I view it, like Temple kind of alluded to a little, is like I think dependent on the role, it shifts a little. So it's like when you're a setter, truly start to appreciate the fact that it's remote. And I don't necessarily think like traveling is the best thing for you. You can, but I think it's more just like embrace the fact that you can go to the beach, rip on like a bunch of DMs, jump on the dialer, and you can be anywhere. It's just a phone call, right? And just like change your environment constantly and just enjoy the fact that like you get to finally be remote, right? Because for a lot of the time, it's like the first ever time they've been in a remote role. For me, when I was on Iman's team as a setter, I was like on the balcony, tanning, ripping voice notes. I was like, this is the life, right? And it actually like what you said, the gratitude, just like take a moment to appreciate it. My philosophy of closing is similar, but it was kind of like, then you go to the point that's like, push, let's see how hard you can push, like start doing the 12 14 hour days, maybe with like a break in the middle or whatever, but just like get good at being able to reset between every call, because I think that's like the biggest way you can scale your income, because most people are so burnt out after like 4 calls. Whereas if you can find ways to truly just reset between every fucking call and like have that high level of adaptive capacity, then you're good to go. And then as you start to see, cool, like I've made a really good amount of money, start traveling it up, start like finding that balance as well. That's how I view it. And now I think like now that I'm sales managing, I'm pretty much just like, I have the skill set. I have like I can lock in whenever needed. So I kind of just do whatever makes sense. Like I'll travel a bunch, like seasonality wise, and then I'll lock in and I just have like a good like swing of the pendulum basically.
Yeah, I fully agree to that. And something I'll add too for that that's really important, because when I say this, I see this adverse effect where a lot of closers will travel, they'll just bring their laptop and then they just go to these random locations, pull up their laptop, they got a shitty background, and they're all over the place. If you do that, this is gonna not work as well for you, in my opinion. I always say that your outfit costs you $50,000 a month in commissions, and I say that a bit sarcastically, but I do say that with some depth and truth to that. Is at the end of the day, your first appearance is everything when someone's hopping on a call with you. And if I'm paying $5, $10, $15, $20,000, whatever it is, I want to think the person on the side is a little bit capable, a little bit wealthy, and a little bit sharp. And if they're not, he's a direct reflection of the owner that I'm buying from, and that doesn't really give me a good look or feeling. So something that I always did, and I recommend that every closer does as soon as you make your first money, is don't go buy the watch or anything like that. Buy a nice camera with a nice lens, a nice microphone, and good tailored outfits, boutique outfits, not off the rack, but outfits that are actually made for your body specifically. And you travel with that, and then any location you go, you immediately lock in, you look great, and then you immediately build that presentation. I used to be 23, felt like forever ago now, and I was selling business owners that are doing 500K a month plus for Cole, and I had to hop on and tell them like, hey man, I know business a bit better than you do. I know you're in your 30s plus, and I'm just this young kid. But the reason I got that respect and I did so well is I always showed up on point, 10 out of 10, and they felt that. And it's a confidence too that you feel and you carry when you hold that weight.
100%.
So I was recently in a sales ruts. How do I, get out of it as quickly as possible? Sales ruts are primarily, again, a mental masturbation piece, in my opinion. There's no really such thing as a sales rut. They're just actions you're not taking. And a lot of times you think it's this mental thing, but it's really just you're in your own head. A lot of the times when I have a close that's in a sales rut, the first thing he wants is call reviews, training, review all these calls. I think that's actually one of the worst things you can do. Not to say you shouldn't do QC of low performers. There's obviously a give and take. But when you do that and you give a shit ton of advice to someone who's in a rut, they're going to take all that, put in their head, get more in their head, and this is a downward spiral. I remember this time I was closing for Cole, and I was having to eat worse this week. Just every call, I was just bombing. And I was at the end of the week. It was like Thursday at this point. No sales. And Cole called me because he just tell by the way I was texting him I was off. He's a great leader. He can just really pick up on the stuff like that. And he called me and he said, "What's going on? I can tell something's up with you." And I just told him, "Dude, I'm like trying to close these calls. I'm gonna try handling this objection this way. Give me this advice." He said, "Dude, I'm not giving you advice. I'm canceling all your calls tomorrow. You're not allowed to show up to the office. If you show up on the team call, I'm going to boot you out. Go have fun." And when he said that, I was pissed in the moment. I was like, fucking advice is that? Like, I'm just gonna come back and be more of a rut. And I did that. I just went and had a great weekend. And then I came back and I crushed the weekend. I had 10 fails the next week. And it really was because I was just so in my head and I forgot to live. And so, I have a couple closers I train. And when they're in ruts, I always just tell them, it's like, what are you doing in your personal life? Because if you don't have something that's counteracting and making life exciting, back to the original question, right? Sales is monotonous. It gets boring. And then you pull through it. You look for problems to create so you can get yourself out of it. Just like you said. I think most sales reps put themselves in ruts before they actually get there. There's obviously tactical advice to all that too. That's the personal side.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so still like simple, right? It's like this profound thing that people overcomplicate, but it's like listen to a call that's like massive winning call from you. So it's like, dude, I was so sharp. My energy was insane. I was objection handling like a fucking beast, right? Just step into that, like sipping on a coffee in the morning, look at the sun, just like appreciate life a little, right? And then I used to send a text to my closers when like I could see their performance had like dipped. I try to be like proactive. It's like 1 or 2 days. I'm like, they had a bad couple of days. Let me nip it in the bud already. And I would just send a text, which is like, you know exactly what to do. You've done this hundreds of times. Step into that. And like every fucking time, I remember there was a guy, I won't say his name, but like he was on one of my teams previously, and he just replied like, bro, I needed this, and then had like an insane day. And it's like, you already know what to do. You know, everything, nothing is fundamentally shifted inside of you. You just stepped into like a weird little headspace. It's like, do that. And then I agree with Temple. I always give the advice of like, let's say every Sunday, go do some shit that's not like, oh, like I'm going to relax and I'm going to watch Netflix. But like do something that's like fucking sick, like super cool, right? Just something you would never do, right? And it can be like small, it can be massive, right? It can be like go to the cinema alone and just get a bunch of popcorn and watch a sick movie and it's just kind of resetting. Or it can be like go for like a massive hike or go on some dates or do whatever, like just something that just lets you live a little bit and you'll be fine.
You're such a good fucking leader for saying that. I forgot. Cole would always say that in a rut. He's like, dude, you know how to close. Why do you think I hired you? I don't need to give you training. And I always hated that advice in the moment, but it would always just said, oh, scroll back to what you know. It's so true.
Yeah.
How'd you build a savage team culture?
So like when it comes to building an insane sales team culture, there's definitely something I spent some time building out. I also learned some great things from Iman. To be transparent, they have a great culture. One of the things I do, which is super unique to me, is on a Friday, we will have more of like a culture building day, right? So there'll be maybe a winning call review if we have time to do so, which is always great. So we can actually highlight like, hey, this person's crushing it. Let's understand what they do. But then we do team shout outs. So it'll literally be like, put your hands up. Who do you want to give a shout out for? What we do as well, which is an addition to it, which works very well, is tie it to a company mission or core value that we have. Like every company you work for should have like mission statements. If you can tie a shout out for a team member to a core value of the company, then it's very like, it's just a very strong way to be able to like learn the company more and kind of embody the company culture whilst giving a lot of recognition to a sales rep. What I then do as well is I do this cool thing on Slack, which is like basically like status badges. So I'll have like obviously highest closer, top performing setter. Then we'll maybe do like most amount of accountability posts, like going to the gym and things. So we know that person's like living a dialed in personal lifestyle. And basically on Slack, you can put like a badge next to their name. So it might be like the crossed swords. There's like better everyday champion. So there's like this for the next week, they get to own this like badge of honor to kind of show like, hey, like you fucking killed it last week. And I found that then like everyone on the team notices it. It gets some cool things going on there. There's a lot of things that I do for culture. Like if people are like 4 minutes late, they have to do 10 push-ups per minute that they were late for. So again, it's just these little things. Obviously, if someone's late all the time, like I'm going to performance review them or something, but like every now and then it's obviously cool. Just these little, I guess, go-to pillars that we have that just creates a lot of consistency in the culture. I have definitely a ton more, but I'd be curious to hear some of the ones that you have.
Yeah, I mean, all that is coming out as advice. When it comes to building an S-tier culture, obviously the first stage is how you interview the rep and bring them on. I heard this quote from somebody, I forget who it was exactly. If you're going to hire somebody, make sure that if you're in an airport with them and the plane was delayed 6 hours, you wouldn't be pissed off that you're stuck with this person, but you'd actually be stoked and excited to talk to this or spend more time. That was a game changer for me in terms of who I actually hire from that. The second thing I like to do is I like to make sure they're open to different perspectives and they're okay with being challenged without getting emotional on something they care about. Because if that's the case and you're coaching them, sales calls are incredibly vulnerable as is to expose yourself that way. And if they're going to be reactive or emotional defensive when I'm giving coaching, we're never going to go any far. So not that I endorse this guy, but he just because that's a controversial figure, it works so well. I'll ask sales reps on the call, especially women, and I'll say, what do you think of Andrew Tate? And And the reason I ask that, because if they immediately give a super emotional defensive answer, I know they're not going to be a good fit for the team. They're not going to align with my culture, my values of like challenging perspective, etc. I have had women where I've asked that and they've said they don't like him. They've given like decent reasons why. And I challenged, we had like a decent conversation back and forth. And I hired them immediately on the spot because I knew that they could actually hold their own without getting defensive. And that was a huge piece in terms of coaching and accountability.
That's fire. That's so good. Okay, cool. And in terms of like, because we'll keep it like tactical to sales managers while we're on this topic, like how do you normally do like key meeting cadence and typical kind of like flow of them and what you like cover on that?
I mean, I follow you to almost the key on that. Projections daily. Every single day we go over projections. Friday we do a win call. The rest of the team calls, we're doing call reviews. The other thing I'll say is I like a culture, and this is just more me personally, but I think a lot of people in the space are more of our age and demographic, is I like a culture where we can badge and pester the shit out of each other. Like if you need an HR department to keep you locked in, that's not a culture I want to be part of. It's also not a culture that I think would be fun long term. I want to be able to roast my guys. I want them to be able to roast me, and it builds a core value and a bond. And again, it goes back to the defensive piece. We're always tearing each other down, so there's no ego whatsoever. So everyone applies 100% and learns 100%.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like that. One of the things that I've always done on my teams, I'm not sure how you do like QCing of your guys. Like we do some core reviews on team meetings. Then I also do some private ones, which are a bit more like really advanced, going like ultra deep on it and things. So that should there is like a recorded asset that they can come back to at any point. But the kind of expectation I set on the team is like you have 48 hours. I need like a whole blown like notes, takeaways, and implementations underneath it. And that's one of my things. I love what you're talking about was hiring. If I hire someone and I see that like 4 days later, 5 days later, 6 days later, they've not posted any notes, I know that they're not really hungry to growth. And they're like 100%, like every time I've like seen that in my gut, they never work out. Like every time.
I'm glad you say this. Sales managers keep sales reps way too long past their expiration date.
Yeah.
They bring someone on, they put all this training and case into them, and they're invested in this person, and they see all these red flags, just like you said, like not responding back, not putting their EOD, not asking questions proactively and waiting for you to give them feedback. That's another huge thing. If you see any of this, I now let reps go within 3 days of hiring them because every single rep I've given 2 weeks to never performed, never got to that KPI. Another huge thing to keep sales reps longevity wise in terms of basic culture, because you could build it, but maintaining it consistency almost hard, if not harder, than actually building it in the first place, is you almost have to be a life coach for your sales reps. So what I do is I have the one-on-ones with the reps, I'm sure you do too. And on those one-on-ones, we're not really talking sales advice, we're talking life. I want to know every one of my reps' personal goals. What is their financial goals, their dating goals, their fitness goals, their career goals. And I want to make sure every week we hold accountable to that. And I got that from Cole because I used to make, please don't dog on me for this, okay? I'll be a little vulnerable here, I promise. I used to make like 50 grand a month, and I would start the month over at zero in my bank account the next month. I know that sounds fucking crazy, and we can talk about financial. So I think I'm gonna say,
no judgment.
all right, I fixed it. Don't worry. That's way behind me. But the point being is Cole would hop on, and he knew that, and so then our one-on-ones was going over all my expenses, what I invested into, what I spent. He held me accountable to that, and that kept me on the team long term because now I know there's always going to be an offer that's going to give me a higher OTE or give me a more sign-on bonus. But if I know that the guy that I'm working with knows me in and out, knows my vulnerabilities, my insecurities, my weaknesses, I'm going to have to restart all of that all over again. It's like a relationship, right? If I have a girlfriend and it gets a little rocky, what's going to keep me in there is knowing that we have that deep understanding and respect for each other. And that's going to pull me through versus just hopping to the next moment.
Yeah, so good. One other thing on team culture, it's actually something we used to do it with Iman when there was like crazy levels of lead flow when I kind of first joined the company. And I'm actually looking to put it into one of my office right now. It kind of has to be a team where there is more sales reps, but it's like the pod structure. I found it helps so much with culture because you've got like your own pods with their own individual names. So like I was part of like the Orca pod or something like that. I started as a setter. I had a guy called Braden who was my closer. Then obviously I became a closer like a couple months later. Basically, it's like the closer is leading the pod because theoretically, if you're a closer, you should be some degree of leader on the calls and then off the calls. So then you have like closer as the leader, and then you have like 2, 3, 4 setters underneath them, and they're like accountable for that, right? And it's very much like they're feeding them, right? So it's like in the best interest of the closer to pour in a lot of time and review the calls and make sure the quality of the sets that are coming through are super high. And then that way, let's say there's 4 pods on the team, you're kind of almost able as a sales manager to like hyper focus into the pod that's underperforming as opposed to just like generalized kind of like picking like a person. And I found that structure worked pretty well for culture building because it's kind of like everyone's against each other in a competitive edge type of way. But also it allows you as a manager to kind of have some of the workload shifted to stuff like to the closers on the team. And I just found that structure works super, super well. I've had my best record months doing that in a test.
So, what are your guys' opinion on scriptless selling?
Scriptless selling is bullshit. It's a marketing tactic to get people in so they can sell their sales training. Like, I'm not going to name names, but at the end of the day, the main proponent of scriptless selling, if I took 20 of his sales calls, I guarantee you they all sound almost identically the same. Why? Because he's following an actual framework and a script beneath that. If you look at any of your favorite actors, I'm just going to say Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm saying he's my favorite one, but he's pretty damn good. I've never heard a movie from him where like, that sounded a bit scripted. That sounded a bit bullshit. It's not believable, but he's literally following a script, word for word, comma for comma, breath for breath. Why can he follow it and not sound scripted? Because he's memorized it and internalized it. So he can go off script. He can add his own improv into it. He can riff on that. But at the end of the day, he's still following that process. And I can tell you like this scriptless selling, the main part of that, I was in masterminds with them 8 years ago, and they were all following a script in the process, and that's how they learned. And if that's how they learned, how do you think you should learn?
Yeah, dude, I think my opinion on scriptless selling is going in like ebbs and flows and stuff. I definitely like fell into the pocket of like, cool, like everything I need to do is scriptless. Realistically, it's just like adaptability. It's like, if I look at like the foundations of my sales skills, it came because I was given a very strong script that was contextual to the offer. Because I think that's fundamentally something that's so broken in this space is like, this is the process. Whether you're B2B, B2C, whatever it is, it's like that's not true whatsoever. You have to sell so differently depending on the ICP and the actual vertical you're selling on. But realistically, I think it's like have a proven process, but know how to probe and clarify and how to go off script and how to actually like, I call them like doors of objection. So it's like see the red flags and then know this is something that's going to hold the sale. Now I'm going to come off script within reason, probe and clarify on that, get a ton of debts and overcome it, and then go back into the pocket. Right, and it's like you need to have these guardrails, so like fundamentally, I'm following something that's proven that I can like almost tick off. And it's like if I go through all of these things and close the doors of objections, I'm fucking golden. Like I will make the sale.
So, what is your guys' process when it comes to objection handling?
I think you should approach every objection like a lawyer. So I think what a lot of closers do is they hear the objection and they immediately rebuttal. It's like prospect says this, you say this. But imagine if you walked into a courtroom and the first thing he said, this person is not guilty or this person is guilty because of XYZ reason. That lawyer would have no fucking business, right? So what does he do? He asks questions. He treats every objection like a mini discovery. It's something I tell all my closers. And he asks these questions for two reasons. One is to fact find. Two is to buy himself more time to think about how he's actually approached that objection. And then third and finally is to instill doubt in the jury or prospect's mind on what their actual initial belief is. A lot of the times you got to look at it, you have a glass that's already full, right? And you're trying to pour your glass into it. It's going to fucking overflow. That glass is the prospect's beliefs. And if you're just trying to rebuttal and pour your beliefs into it, it's overflowing. They're not going. It's going one ear right out the other. So you have to drain that glass. You drain it through asking questions first. So getting the question their own process, then you approach it.
So good. Yeah, I think like now with the teams I take over, it's very, very process driven. But then I think there's like another layer to it, right? And we kind of chatted about this like privately in the past, but it's like, have your process, get super fucking good at it because that will be how you have like a strong hit rate on overcoming a lot of the objections. But then there's like a more advanced layer of it, of being able to read buying signals when they're in the buying pocket. Because a lot of the time you can get the value tie downs and make sure they are bought into the process and they feel fucking great about it. And then you know that it's just fear, but they're so close to the buying pocket. And it's literally just like, you've got to just grab them by the hand and tell them that. And I take that very like empowering angle where it's like, hey, like, you've already told me that you know this is exactly what you need, right? We're going to like do everything side by side together, right? There won't be a day that you're alone in this process. So let's grab each other's hand right now. We're going to have to walk across a few hot coals to actually make this jump together. But once you do, you're going to look back, never fucking, question it, whatever, right? Some shit like that. It's just being able to read those buying signals as well. So that's something that's like, I implement that. I start like, knowing that that's going to increase the close rate. And then I shift over to like, cool, like now it's more advanced objection. Okay.
I love that. One of my go-to, like not exact lines verbatim, but I'll pretty much say verbatim, as funny as it sounds, is once you have objection in that process, and prospect, and they're right there, I'll just say, dude, you need to fucking do this. Like, I'm done hearing objections. I'm done like you making excuses here. You want to do it. You need to do this. You're doing this. What's your card number? And when you're working with B2C and you're just pulling them on that bone, getting that certainty, you got to lead them. Closing is leadership at the end of the day. You're not going to lead with this, obviously. do the process first, like Scott was saying. But at some point, you got to recognize you've reeled that fish to the surface. Now you just got to go in, grab it, put it on the pupper blow.
Yeah. One of the concepts I talk about, which I think really clicks, there's a guy that I'm coaching on one of my teams called Max, and he has progressed so wildly within like 3 weeks of objections. And I talk about like, look at the prospect and are they talking themselves into the sale or are they spiraling out of it? And if they are talking themselves into it, that's when I'm very much holding ground and staying silent. I'm letting them do the work for me. If they're spiraling, I'm interjecting straight away, right? And if you can read that and you have the sensory acuity to say like, nope, this person's spiraling. Hey, look, I know this is uncomfortable, and then we're just interjecting again. And now we're like kind of like walking them through the emotions. If they're talking themselves into it, I'm just going to like wait for the build up to come and then do exactly that. Right, because it's literally just this whole like, and I kind of talk about that, which you done a little there. It's like break the fourth wall. It's like, hey, like at this stage, I don't want to do more lectures. Yeah, you want to do this.
I love that. That's so good. And teeing on X is so important because you do have to interject multiple times. A lot of people, a lot of closers think when you handle objections, I'm gonna reframe it and then they're gonna be on the sale. It never fucking works like that. You have to look at objections like you're chipping a statue away. You got to chip at it, chip at it, chip at it. And eventually you will get to that final product, but it's going to take multiple renditions to get there. And you have to do exactly what you said to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
3 traits someone needs to have to go from closer to a sales manager.
The 3 traits to go from closer to sales manager, I would say the first one off the bat, and I'll let you hit the second one here. First one is you got to go from selfish to selfless. Closing at the end of the day is a very selfish role. All you care about is yourself and your commissions, as you should, because that's where you do good. But selfless is where you got to realize you got to now provide for others. You got to lead with them and you got to sit in that pocket. And it's not about you anymore. It's about the team.
Yeah. I think the classic advice of like, you should already fundamentally be doing a lot of the role because it becomes a no-brainer. There's so many like people that I have coached that have been a closer for ages. They feel like they deserve sales management role on this offer. They never get it. And then they just fucking leave. It's like, you just weren't like just stepping into that and embodying that role already. So when I think of my bridge from closer to sales manager on Iman's team, I was already coaching all the setters. I was already running team meetings every single Wednesday, right? Like doing like your sales, technical, but I was already like running that role. I was like they're tracking the data. I think it's like, if you want the role, show that you're already basically doing the role. And then you're just going to get the actual pay, like have a lag effect, basically.
That's so true. I literally tell that's exactly how you go from setting to closing is you already got to be essentially closing your prospects on a setting call. When I have a setter and he's just working through all these limiting beliefs already, and by the time they land up to the closing call, he already did the closer's job. I know that guy's ready to be promoted, and he doesn't need to ask me. I don't need to look for it. It's already there.
Embodied. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you got to look at like your set to close rate for sure. That was one of the reasons that I remember I progressed to closer for Iman, and there was all these like specific KPIs you had to hit. I think it was like 500K set to close cash collected, and at least like 6 months on the team. It's like being closer in 2 months. I think I probably collected like 150K or something like that. So like they bent the rules, but it's because I had such a high set to close percentage. That like basically every set was a later.
I'd say the third piece to go from closing to sales manager is you have to step up your coaching and your cadence even to another level. At the end of the day, like you do want to coach on sales calls, not coach them on what to do, but coach them how to think and how to make, behavioral decisions. But when you're dealing with a sales team, closers are notorious for always wanting to go to scriptless selling or learn the new hot thing versus what they're doing that's already given the 40% close rate, and they go completely off track. So part of being that is being really good at identify a coder's actions and behaviors on an early onset before they take them and pull them out of that before they get into that rut.
Yeah. And then I guess just like an add-on, a super kind of like bonus point of it, like there's kind of 2 sides to this. I've definitely heard like, you don't want to progress like the top closer to a manager, right? They often don't have like the leadership skills. But I do also think like we're prime examples of people that are also very good at closing. So maybe it's like a case where like fundamentally you do need to be a very strong closer. Like you need to be able to have the skill sets because otherwise if you haven't developed them, it's going to be very hard, 1, for you to gain trust on the team, but 2, for you to articulate and actually like transfer that back. In my opinion, I actually think my closing skills, which links in with the coaching side, like you said, my closing skills like exponentially increased is when I started giving back in coaching because I was kind of reverse engineering, like what actually am I doing? Like I was aware of what I was doing, but then when you're like coaching it to someone else, sometimes they don't understand it. So now you have to find like new ways to be able to like articulate it and get them to understand it, which I think really solidifies the skill set of you being a better closer as well.
100% makes you a better closer. Yeah.
What is the difference between closing a 5K deal and a 50K deal?
What's the difference between closing a 50K package and a 5K package? I could talk for 5 hours on this, but I think something that's very undervalued and not talked about is business for niche acumen. Sales, closing skills are only going to take you so far, and the higher the sophistication of the package goes, the prospects want to know they feel like they're talking to somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about. When I was 23 and selling for Cole, and I was selling business, I was doing 500K plus a month, I had zero acumen whatsoever, and I actually bombed my first 2 weeks of calls. I didn't close anything. That was a pretty damn good close. That's why Cole put me there. What I did is I reviewed every single one of Cole's coaching calls for 3 hours a day. And then I would pop on these calls and I would give these one-liners or these insights that immediately changed the prospect's opinion and decision-making process on if we were the leaders of space or not. And that brought me more tremendously far than any sales training ever could. So if you're selling a high-ticket product, you need to know that product in and out, at least enough to know to get them on the inside. And then the real coaches can handle the real coaching.
So difference between a 5K and a 50K package when you're selling. So I actually sold a 265K package at one point and a couple of others that were like 160K and stuff. And this was in the ATM investment space, super niche. I knew nothing about investing, knew nothing about ATMs, that's for sure. And nothing about amortizing cash across the next 5 years, whatever, right? I spent probably a week going deep, and this was before AI, to be honest, right? Deep on like 30 different sales calls, getting every question that was ever asked at any point, every single little additional point that the closer made that was off of the pitch script itself, and just learning this so much. And I think that's like the heuristic, like cheat code to like having business acumen to your offer. But then if you double that up with like just learning marketing and learning like, you know, all these different additional points, that's where you can truly become someone that can close the 50K packages. Because if you don't know how to be consultative on these sales calls, you're just going to get steamrolls because they know that you're just some random guy in his bedroom that's going to ask you like, how does it make you feel? And then you get fucking steamrolled. Yes.
How much have you made after closing 260K package?
Yeah, so I mean, at a package that size, I don't know. Maybe you're a little more lucky than me. So it's not the 10% comms, unfortunately, but it went up in tiers. So it was 4% like flat, but then if you closed over like 2 deals, it went to 5%. So it was kind of like performance based. So on that single deal, it was 4%.
So how much have you made?
I think it's 10K in one deal. So it's not anything like.
That's cool.
So as you can see, there's people setting things up in the background. We've got a party that is happening here tonight, so we actually have to leave. To be honest, we had no idea how long this was recording for. We wanted to give like so much more sauce and go even deeper on there. But ultimately, there's going to be plenty more videos just like this that me and Temple will be making. Hopefully we get to collab a lot more times because, dude, it's kind of wild how much like synchronicity we have on sales and sales management. So yeah, bro, absolute pleasure.
Thank you. But before we sign off here, if you do want to go deeper, there's 2 places you can go. The first place you can go to Scott. I'll let him riff with that.
Yeah, so I have a community, low ticket, it's called Transcend. Honestly, my play with that is I run a lot of events on sales teams. It's kind of a bread and butter I do. I actually took over a new offer very recently. We're going to do a crazy, crazy launch for it. I just want to be able to streamline my hiring process from people that I already know are studs and they've been coached directly by me. So if you want to join Transcend, there's actually 2 tiers, one for sales reps and one for sales managers. So you can check it out.
Inspired from Scott has been pushing me on this forever. I'm actually launching my first community for the first time. I'm going to take 80 plus sales training videos that I've made and put them all in there. We're going to have weekly coaching calls. I'm probably going to add another 80 more over the next 2 months. So if you want to go in there, you get what every other sales coach you're charging 10, 15K for dirt cheap. Look at the link down below.
Let's fuck we go.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, bro.